What's up guys, I'm Brian, this is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for joining me as we introduce Samsung's Neo QLED Mini LED lineup at 4K. This year we have the QN70F, QN80F, and the QN90F as the true flagship. In years past, we've had 85 and 95 versions of their lineup. What we have now is a more simplified lineup, yet it's higher spec. So the focus is on those three models. Today you'll see a 65-inch QN90F, which is the true flagship for the 4K Neo QLED Mini LEDs. Then you'll see a 100-inch QN80F. Without further ado, let's check out Samsung's 4K Neo QLED Mini LED lineup. Thank you so much for watching. All right, guys, let's do it. We're checking out the Samsung QN90F Neo QLED Mini LED, as well as the brand new soundbar HW Q90F. Taking a quick look at the design, we're also here at Samsung Labs. Samsung has really nailed the design of their Neo QLED Mini LEDs over the years, simplifying them yet making them elegant at all sizes. Little subtle differences. Many years ago, they got rid of the one connect box for anything in the Neo QLED Mini LED lineup other than the top of the line 8K. And right now you'll see the biggest difference is the new anti-glare, and also I want to show you its best use case. As you see in the room we're in at Samsung Labs, that light will absolutely have no effect throughout this video. Now, it's a very divisive decision by Samsung to include this on the rest of their lineups. There are reasons for it, as other than enthusiasts, many consumers really complain mostly about glare. That has been eliminated here. Whether many of us enthusiasts like it or not, I can totally appreciate its use case. As you can see there before the demo begins, there isn't anything on screen, no reflections at all from the lamp behind me or the lights above me. Like many of you, I was not happy with the decision to go with this matte type screen last year. However, I did begin to understand its use case as I tested it in my own environment. It's really there to knock out the glare from lamps and ambient light within the room. We'll use a flashlight in this case to show you how it handles a bright light from about 10 feet away. While that bright flashlight is evident, it doesn't scatter all over the screen. You're not seeing a reflection that takes over most of the screen. It doesn't hurt the contrast ratio of the rest of the screen. Where it will struggle is in bright sunlight. It will not succeed there. However, even glossy TVs struggle there. So while I do understand its use case and have grown to appreciate what it's for, I simply ask you guys to try having an open mind when viewing it. Either you'll like it or you won't, but understanding its true use case is really the most important part. And lastly, when I talk about sunlight, it has to be directly hitting the screen to really have that absolute negative effect on the image quality and contrast ratio. Now, lastly, on the glare-free technology, being in this room with this very bright, very colorful and saturated image on the QN90F flagship, I do feel like the actual anti-glare helps the local dimming in spots. I didn't mind it when there was nothing on screen and you would just see that black kind of matte image. It didn't look cheap at all, it looked very premium. We can tell by the contrast ratio, the pop, the color, and saturation, the image is absolutely gorgeous. The QN90D last year was one of my favorite TVs of the year. The challenge for the Neo QLED Mini LED lineup is they do start off very expensive compared to their own QD-OLED lineup. And for the last number of years, there's been confusion where you've had a QN80, a QN85, a QN90, and a QN90F. Now, the QN90F was typically a custom install model, but many of you struggle to want to buy one that is not the true flagship. Now, I've been assured by Samsung there will not be a QN90F or a QN80F this year, and the QN80F was also one of my favorite TVs, as well as the QN90F. Having them merge into one not only simplifies it for you guys, but simplifies it for me, as I would do videos on the QN90F and you guys wouldn't really be interested as you couldn't really get them. The Neo QLED Mini LED's greatest competitor has been its own Quantum Dot OLED lineup, here being the S95F and the S90F. However, OLED is not for everyone. Burn-in is still a fear for many of you, and be able to have this no compromise mini LED option is excellent. And as you can see here, the local dimming improves year after year. I'll show you off angle in a moment, and this is where I do feel like the matte screen or anti-glare screen does help in areas. As we go off angle, even as bright as that is, the blooming is minimal. We are also in the standard preset. We are not in Filmmaker. We are leaving it very bright for this local dimming test. Now, while the best processor from Samsung is relegated to their 8K flagship QN90F, we do have the upgraded AI processor, which is the NQ4 AI Gen 3 processor on the Neo QLED Mini LED lineup, and it is excellent. The processing was great with the upscaling last year, and it is improved here as well. Now, my favorite quality of life feature as I go through the different presets to show you flexibility of image has been Tizen changing with this shortcut menu here. One tap with the gear button and this shortcut settings menu comes up, leaving everything so you can see it in the corner. You can also minimize and expand that, which is amazing for us that review these TVs, but it comes up with one quick hit of a button, and then also the last presets you were in are also there. Ultra fast and definitely much more pleasing to the eye than that bottom menu that used to cover the entire screen. Also, one of Samsung's greatest strengths is flexibility of image, being able to go from very accurate all the way to crazy saturated and vibrant as you move into the dynamic preset here. Also, what I like about them having one model versus the two separate QN90 and 95 is the sizes. The sizes go from literally 43 up to 115 inches. When you had the QN95D separate, you only had 3 sizes for that model. And if you wanted the other smaller sizes or even larger sizes, you had to go down to the QN90. Now you have all those sizes with one model. Now those sizes are 43, 48, 50, 55, 65, 75, 85, and then I believe it goes right up to 115, which is incredible. Again, checking out the local dimming here, even with these fast transitions, it keeps up, looks amazing while also being very bright and still being in dynamic, I might add. A special shout out to the one and only Jennifer Gala and her second channel, HDR SUPER CHANNEL, for all her amazing work seen within this video and in the intro. Please check the description below for both of her channels and consider becoming a Patreon to her main channel, where you'll be able to download all of these amazing demos in full Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. Thank you so much, Jen. Now, before we move into gaming, what are your thoughts on the QN90F Neo QLED Mini LED? Moving into gaming, the biggest change we have here is 165 Hertz. Now, I'm not sure if that is from top to bottom, meaning from the QN90F all the way down to the QN70F. That's what I believe is the case, which would be great because the QN85 last year, the QN85D, was limited to 120 Hertz. So having 165 Hertz if you're a PC gamer is amazing and super important. Not so important if you are a console gamer. They also have one of the best game bars in the business. More importantly, their flexibility of image. All of the different presets you see here can be saved and customized. You can go from super saturated to super accurate. Also, you have HDR 10 plus gaming and their own version of HDIG. What separates Samsung even further in gaming is Game Motion Plus, which is a feature I don't use much as a PC gamer, but for a console gamer, what you're able to do is increase the frame rate or make the game appear to have a higher frame rate than the base game without dimming the image or creating much latency at all. They are the only ones in the industry doing this, and they do it better than anyone else. As we now move over to the 100-inch QN80F Neo QLED mini LED. Now, I'm still here at Samsung Labs filming this in this room where I wasn't able to really control the light. What I will say is the QN80F doesn't have the anti-glare screen of the QN90F. Now, I'm not sure about all the sizes for the QN80F, but I know at this size we don't have the anti-glare. That is also evident throughout this shoot. What I mean is I had to stop recording several times because when I shut off the lights, someone would open a door behind me and you could see the glare, which was very distracting. So I actually found myself missing the anti-glare from the QN90F, which was surprising to me as, again, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I do truly understand its use case. The QN80F is gorgeous. As I've mentioned before, the QN85 series has always been one of my favorite TVs, especially at an excellent value for many, many years. Now being able to recognize, or should say recommend, the QN80 without having to delineate between 80 and 85 is super important. Best bang for the buck with excellent image quality and, as I've mentioned, tremendous value. Now, we also have a wide range of sizes from 55, 65, 75, 85 up to 100 inches, what you are seeing here in this very bright room. And it does handle the reflections pretty well, even though the room is very bright. Once the lights go off is when you'll see again that door behind me, and I'll point that out. But the image quality is excellent. Same as the QN90F in terms of its flexibility of image, being able to be very accurate and then very saturated. The QN90F will be brighter with better local dimming. However, I'd argue that many of you are going to choose the QN80F as it doesn't have the anti-glare coating of the QN90F, and the differences in price can be pretty vast. Also, the QN80, like the QN85 before it, is the one that is more readily available, the one you'll see at large kiosks in big box stores such as Costco. Which is why I'm happy that the QN80 and the QN85 are now just one model, making it very easy to recommend. In years past, many would ask me about the QN80, which I didn't always like. QN85 being a separate model, now we have it as just one, much easier on me and much easier on you. Again, we're gonna go in and show you that quick access to the settings, and then also show you the flexibility of image, taking a very saturated demo from our good friend Jennifer and making it much more accurate in filmmaker mode. So showing you where we can go, making any image very vibrant, and then bring it back down to looking more realistic and more accurate. Now, how does Samsung compete with other manufacturers that have ultra-large quantum dot mini LEDs? Well, Samsung was pretty much a first to market with the QN80A many years ago. We're now past the QN80A, B, C, D. We skipped E, and now we're on QN90F at a whopping 115 inches. So they've been ahead of that in terms of sizes, at least at the flagship level. Samsung also went out of their way to show us the purity of their quantum dot panels. There is some controversy of other manufacturers not having quantum dots at all. Samsung showed us the purity and the volume of quantum dots used within their panels. This also could make up for the differences in price with Samsung Neo QLED mini LEDs. That was rather eye-opening. We'll see what happens in the future with that controversy. Now switching back here, you can see the door open behind me and people walking back and forth. Now that always would have bothered me, but thinking back to the anti-glare where there was nothing behind me, you actually see them close the door in a minute. Yep, there it goes. So it was so funny. For somebody who doesn't love the anti-glare, I certainly missed it when I was filming in this room. Because it wasn't just a reflection, it basically expanded the reflection to where I actually couldn't film it. Now, what are your thoughts on the QN80F? Now, I don't have any footage of the QN90F. I thought I did because I did shoot a 115-inch at CES, which I'll include at the end of this video. But apparently the QN90 is the only one that goes up to 115 to my knowledge. That could change. I will add it at the end of the video just to show you scale. But what's crazy to me is when you think about being around very large TVs, you have to say to yourself, how big is the room that TV is in? This is 100 inches. Now, if this was in the same room as the QN90F, you couldn't even fit it through the door. But this is a massive conference room, so it doesn't look as large. I will show you scale in a moment right here. Me sitting right next to it, I am 6'3", about 240 pounds. And even that doesn't do it justice. I'll bring FOMO in during the gaming portion to show you somebody who's a little bit smaller to give you that true scale of size. But look at the local dimming on the QN80F. Excellent. This is a very tough demo as we pan side to side. And able to go from very bright standard preset into filmmaker to show you the colors and the accuracy. Filmmaker being just out of the box looks amazing. Now, Samsung also has changed their filmmaker over the years. At one time, due to the lack of processing and trying to bring you the creator's intent, it could be very drab. Now it is vibrant while maintaining its accuracy. I actually do use it now myself at home. Meaning Samsung has shed that vibrant, saturated, only colorful, too cartoony to being accurate and vibrant at the same time. And here we are into our gaming. There I am sitting down here. I'll invite FOMO in with me in a moment. Not to say FOMO is not the biggest guy, but he's not the biggest guy. Unfortunately, it's dark in the room, so you can't really see us, but you can see the silhouette. It was a very fun day to spend filming all these TVs. But back to business, in terms of gaming, again, Samsung is on the cutting edge, not just for the technology being 165 Hertz, but more importantly for me, it's not just the performance, it's again the flexibility. A lot of times with mini LEDs, because of the local dimming, you do have to pick your poison. You really can't have a deep, colorful image with the performance. With Samsung, you have that flexibility of image with many presets to change it however you like. You can take something like Ghost of Tsushima and get very saturated and then turn it here into being much more accurate. So depending on the game, you can switch it up. And also having, as you can see here, Game Motion Plus, total game changer, forgive the pun, on console gaming, giving you that feeling of a higher frame rate when the base game is either 30 FPS or 60 FPS. It is invaluable for console gamers. For PC gaming, you want to let it run free, and there's that glare in the background again with the door being half closed. I think someone shuts it in a minute. Nope, we'll move on. Now, super impressed with the QN80F. I'm glad, again, they are one model. I cannot wait to get the QN90 and 80F in for review before we move into the 115-inch QN90F. Now, this footage is from CES, but I want to show you the scale between 100 and 115. The size difference is massive. If they have the 115 or a micro LED at Samsung Labs, I'll definitely drive down and film it there. But in closing, the Samsung Neo QLED Mini LED lineup is always very easy to recommend, especially later in the year when the prices fall. I love that they have the easier menu to get into, and they have the simplification of their models with even the higher specs. All right, I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing. Love you guys. Take care.
It's better to burn out than to fade